finished though. I feel like one of these I should be able to talk to at least. Evil stalks these woods. We are all of us doomed. Arm yourself, preferably with my wares, of course. John Howe. Of course, with your wares. You're the only store that I can buy from. I don't know if sharpshooters is a rank of the weapon or the special named weapon. Vigor and Ferocity are the two I want. Don't really need to worry about selling those. The two bows I use are better than the two. Actually, does he have more? Yep, longbow quiver. So now I can carry more arrows. I know they're the Indians and the enemies to most of who I've been up against. Come on, why can't I get you? There we go, gotcha. Used all my health on that one guy. I thought you might need this. Hourly drink reminder. Don't forget to stay hydrated, everyone. There's a grave. It appears that someone was burnt here. All treasure chests found? That seems to be everything on the map. I found a woman burning to the west. I know nothing of it. It feels like I've completed this map, but Forbidden Wilds... Forbidden Wilds, still not complete. All clues found, all chests found, all pages found, destinations found. I've talked to everyone I can. I've got everything marked, so it should all be showing on the map. Maybe if I go back to Fort Hope and talk to Allison. Something has happened. You reek of smoke, of scorched hair and charred flesh. I found a woman burning in a blighted forest far to the west. I remember she was weeping smoke from empty eyes as the flames consumed her, her flesh blackening and cracking from the heat. Clement Wright said an arrow pinned your cloak to a tree as you fled into the woods. I remember him calling Simon's name as we crept through the Forbidden Wilds. I turned and saw 3 soldiers coming toward us and knew my father had sent them to bring us back. I hissed at them to be silent lest they reveal us to the Indians. But then Simon asked them why they were carrying Indian weapons, and I realized they didn't come to bring us back. It was Clement's arrow that pinned my cloak to that tree. It was my arrow. It was my arrow that wounded him. The others were all dead, so I left him there and went to find my sister. Is this Tabitha's arrowhead pendant? Yes, she wore it always, though she was careful to keep it hidden from our father, knowing he wouldn't approve. I found it near the burning woman. She wasn't burning when I found her. What happened? I remember staggering through the woods, faint from fear and grief, knowing she was near, for her sorrow called to me. I remember I stumbled and fell. I think I cried out, for the ground was strewn with dead birds. I looked around me and beheld the rotting carcasses of rabbits and deer and other beasts of the wood. And then I saw an Indian child and her mother clinging to each other in death. Beyond them were more corpses, their flesh blackened, their eyes clouded, their faces twisted in fear. I forced myself to walk on despite my horror, picking my way among the dead, choking on the stench of corruption. At least I saw a pillar ahead of me. Someone was bound to it. A woman, head lolled forward, her naked body stained with the blood that had spilled across her. I knew at once it was Tabitha. I stood before her, reeling from the ache of her despair and my own. I raised my face and saw that her throat had been cut open. I looked around at all the helpless creatures, beasts and men, drawn by the ache of her suffering and then drowned by it. I could feel the darkness spreading out from her, feeding on the hope it swallowed up. I knew it would never stop, that it would only grow more ravenous. I wept for a long time. Then I began to gather branches and pile them at the base of the pillar. I said a prayer and lit a fire, feeding the clothing that had been stripped from her into the flames. As the flames rose up and consumed her, my prayers became pleas. As her flesh blackened and cracked from the heat and dark smoke streamed from her eyes, I begged her to find peace. I begged her to let go of her torment before it consumed us all. And then I felt her anguish become anger. The ache of betrayal became the shrieking of scorn and vengeance. The trees withered, and all that her fury touched turned to cinders. The dead things and the living were burned away. Those who had hurt her, those who had abandoned her, those who had loved her, all except me. Oh, that's quite a story. I have a gift for you. What is it? This arrowhead that your sister wore as a pendant. Why are you giving this to me? To remind you of Tabitha's happiness. That is most thoughtful of you. This bloody arrow that wounded Clement Wright. Why are you giving me this foul thing? To remind you of vanquishing a tremendous foe. To remind you of your courage, in case you wanted it back for some reason. To remind you of your courage. It is a well-intended thought, though you might have rinsed it first. This scrap of cloth from your cloak. Why are you giving it to me? In case you wanted to patch the tear. Maybe you can make something with it. In case you wanted to patch the tear. I already have, but it was thoughtful of you. This Indian headdress. I think you would look ridiculous wearing it. Is that a reason that I'll be giving it to her? And it seems to be stopped responding again. In case there's a chance to return it to its owner or his family. That's the one I'll go with. At which point did it save? Did it save any of that conversation? I might change it. Maybe you can make something with it. Very well, then I shall keep it. The Indian headdress. In case there's a chance to return it to its owner or its family. It is rather bulky to carry around. I shall leave it here and they can come and claim it if they so desire. I made something for you from the wood carving and the scrap of cloth you gave me. What is it? A charm to protect you. That was very thoughtful of you. Acquired the charm of the Red Maiden from Alison. Become 10% harder to hear and see. Health increased 15% more. And 10% faster. That can replace that. Blood arrow complete. A broken arrow coated with dried blood. This was the arrow that pierced Clement right through the knee. He had to break the shaft in half to pull it free. It was Alison Markley's arrow. Burning stake. A crude stake where a woman was burned in the Forbidden Wilds. The fire still rages, though it emits no heat. The remains are those of Tabitha Markley. Stone arrowhead. A stone arrowhead that appears to have been worn as a pendant. James Markley mentioned that his daughter Tabitha made herself a pendant from an arrowhead that an Indian youth gave her. Alison said that Tabitha wore the pendant constantly. Victim burned. The remains of a woman who was burned at the stake in the Forbidden Wilds. The victim was Tabitha Markley, daughter of James and Philippa, and sister of Alison. Why is it saying Alice? She was killed by having her throat cut. Her remains were burned later. People, still many stories. Alison is complete. Insists she felt her sister dying. Claims her sister's sorrow pulled at her. Left Fort Hope without permission to go in search of her sister. Actually, I didn't start at top. Daughter of James Markley, sister of Tabitha Markley. Insists she felt her sister dying. Yep. Clement Wright tried to kill her, but she escaped. She was the one who wounded Wright. She is the maiden in red. Burned her sister's remains to try to bring her peace. But Tabitha became angry and the colony perished. Tabitha, there's still more. Clement Wright, there's still more. I didn't read this one. Should anyone find this letter before I return to Fort St. George, please tell my family that Avery Taverner, yet live. I am the last of the three of us who set out after Benedict Harper refused to let us join his expedition. We thought to take a more direct route, that we might arrive first, but my companions took ill. One died 2 days ago, and the other only this morning. I shall continue alone. I think I need to go back to Fort St. George to finish that one off. Investigations. Alison still has more. Tabitha still has more. Burning Maiden still has more. Clement Wright attacked Allison and Simon Holt. I knew at once they had gone into the Forbidden Wilds, even though I forbade it. I sent those men to make sure they didn't return, for I feared what they might bring back with them. What did you fear they would bring back? The doom of our colony. Allison found Tabitha in the Forbidden Wilds. When Tabitha vanished, I rode into the woods to search for her. I found her on her way to their village. It did not take long to get the truth from her. She was tied naked to a post. I stripped away her clothing so that the swell of her belly might be clearly observed. A child sewed by a savage she gave herself to willingly. You cut her throat? Yes, so that the shame she brought upon me might be ended. Wow! James is ruthless. Cut his own daughter's throat. I left her so that the tribe would know we would sooner kill our women than let them be touched by savages, even our own daughters. Still more for both of them. What if I go back to Fort Henry? Nothing here. Fort St. George will be the last place I try again. Nope. How do I have so much not... How do I still have things... Oh no, they're the ones that bugged out. Yep. So I have collected them. I'm not going to go back there just yet. I've just been there. Nothing more here. Nothing here. I am confused. They're supposed to have all ticks like this when you complete stories and complete things. But only one is ticked, or a few is ticked there, but only 5 out of so many. Notes. Most of them are ticked, but only Coastal Path and St. George are complete. And investigations. I've still got 4 investigations open. So I'm thinking I might call it here. I have been going for almost 7.5 hours.